Hi, I'm Michelle Lightworker and welcome to my first ever documentary, Enlightenment Activation. We all tend to think of enlightenment as something for the illuminated human being, but it's not. It's a journey that we're all on, all the time. In fact, when we look at those who we deem unenlightened in either their consciousness or behaviour, I propose it's an opportunity to ask ourselves, how are they serving me to enlighten? How do we know whether a person's consciousness is actually just a person's consciousness, or whether they're placed perfectly in our path at the right time to activate our own enlightenment? I set forth on a journey to document and research how unsocial behaviours and other major events that happen in our lives could be activators to raise our own consciousness. The first topic I turned to is exploring dishonesty. I spoke to 6 individuals about how they experienced dishonesty as a positive activator for enlightenment in their lives.
You don't allow yourself to go into their negative vibration. You raise it up, so energy shifting is so important. I'm 41, I'm from Racine, Wisconsin, and I'm a writer. I try to allow myself to raise my vibration rather than go to their level, and it makes me more truthful and blunt. I don't see the point of having to go to their level. I kind of do a reverse psychology. I just raise it up and make them uncomfortable with their energy. An example of that in my life is growing up, I was constantly looked down upon because I had a disability. I had epilepsy all my life, and so people judged me. And so I just naturally raised my vibration and ignored them, and continued to be my confident, creative self. People would just talk and be so full of themselves, so to speak. And it being an empath especially, I absorbed what they were saying to begin with, but not really saying. So I learned what the truth was before they even said it. So many people doubt their own intuition. It's a gift from spirit telling you the truth. Why doubt it? Trust it.
I'm 45 years old. I live in Brisbane, Australia, and I have a business, lightfieldwomen.com, and it's an enlightenment business. I coach people and teach people about being enlightened, letting go of the trauma and past limitations, and really moving forward into their inner light. The turning point in my life where I had a very conscious awareness around honesty and dishonesty, and I had 2 separate situations very close together with 2 very close girlfriends where, we were meant to meet up. There was money that was meant to be paid for things that had been done. And it just didn't happen, and I was so deeply impacted by this that it really caused me to look at dishonesty, and it really propelled me into a really conscious look into myself about dishonesty, about how I'd been dishonest in my life, why had I attracted this. 2 lessons in a very short time really knocked me for a 6, so I really needed to do something. And I really had a look back at my life and saw the dance between honesty and dishonesty in my life, and the people that I was spending time with where we were all being dishonest. And I really saw that it was very accepted. It was something, when we're unconscious, it's a very accepted thing. You can white lie, you can fool yourself, be dishonest with yourself and others. So in that moment, I was really woken up. I didn't want anymore, which was dishonesty. So therefore I didn't want to be that anymore. So there, in that moment, in that decision, I'm pushed into, well, if I'm not dishonest, then I'm honest. So I had to have a very good, honest look at me, my life, and what I stood for. How can I be honest? How can I live a life based on honesty and attract people that honour that and are honest? So that's what I did. I began a really big journey of self-discovery and really started craving honesty. And the more that I felt it within me, the more empowered I felt. The changes for me going from where I was and feeling, I began to notice the contraction in my body if I was being dishonest, the shutting down, the closing, the fear. And then I would notice how I felt being honest, and the expansiveness and the openness and the freedom, and viewing this in different people. So it's just been a wonderful gift to have walked different levels of dishonesty into honesty. Honesty is one of the most important things, and I guess it weighs even more heavily when, as a parent, how am I showing my children to be honest, and am I being honest with them in my words, my actions? So for me, honesty now is it's a way of life. My life is filled with really beautiful, honest, empowered people, and I notice their movement, their fluidity in their bodies, and the freedom, the beautiful talks that we have that are uplifting. And so, yeah, honesty is a gift that just allows us to free ourselves, and on every level.
I'm 53 years old. I live in Ballarat in Victoria in Australia. And what I do, well, I'm actually an author as well as an angel messenger. To explain how this honesty has enlightened me, I need to really go back a little bit to when I was a teenager, and I was born in South America in a country called Uruguay. And at the time in Uruguay, being gay was actually illegal. So this honesty was part of who I was, because I couldn't actually come out into society and say, here I am, I'm a gay man, because I will end up in jail. And the minimum that could actually happen to me at the time was actually being raped. So the rest, it was, you can actually imagine, I lived the first part of my teenage years back then in a state of fear. I knew that I was actually living a double life, but it was a double life that I needed to live in order to survive, I knew that I was dishonest, but the trade-off of that, I wasn't prepared to actually take on. I was truly in a state of fear. And as I go back in memory, I can feel the fear again. It doesn't affect me that much anymore now. It's a scar that it became part of me. But I cannot deny that in order for me to understand how dishonesty enlightened me, I need to understand that I was dishonest. And although there was a choice, I chose to actually be safe and perhaps being dishonest. So when I look at people that they have been dishonest to me, I look at it from a place of, and I know that it may sound wishy-washy and airy-fairy, I look at it from a place of love and compassion, because to see somebody being dishonest and you can see them coming, I tend to go into what actually propels you to do that. And at the bottom of all that is a sense of unworthiness and fear, that they're trying to portray somebody that they're not. And because I have been there, I know what it's like. Saying this, I'm not condoning somebody's behavior towards me by being dishonest. But I guess that perhaps like a soul living a human experience, if somebody is dishonest, yes, I will feel angry, I will feel upset, I will feel, I don't know, totally discouraged by that behavior, because I don't forget that I'm a soul living a human experience. So as such, I'll feel the emotions. But at the other end of that emotion, of that roller coaster ride, there's that sense of, okay, I get it. And this is what you're going through. And in essence, we are beings of energies. And as a being of energy, there's no beginning and there's no end. And what there is a constant journey of transformation. And if we accept that transformation, then we're allowing that person through their dishonesty to transform themselves. And in essence, we transform ourselves. Remaining with that sense of love and compassion and understanding that sometimes people go through life being dishonest truly out of fear. And when we understand that, then the only thing that is left for us to do is to feel love and compassion. And when we feel love and compassion, then only then we can only grow and we can only transform. I will say to anybody out there is that if you might be dishonest, well, that's part of your journey. But the other side, the other person that you're actually dishonest to, feel compassion and understand the reasons why, or perhaps dig a little bit deeper. And I have been dishonest, and dishonesty has been done on me by sometimes even family members. And although I was really upset and really angry, as you go through all that, at the other end, I realized why they were doing it. And sometimes, and I'm not saying that it's all the time, but sometimes it's a cry for help. And I usually say what we've got in front of us is sometimes a mirror of who we are. And if that's a mirror, then what is it that we need to learn? And if we are learning something, well, perhaps learning, but also share it. There's nobody in this world that I can say to me face to face, I have never been dishonest. Because even if you haven't been dishonest to somebody else, you know what? You have been dishonest to yourself. And in that sense, it's what we are actually learning, moving through that energetic transformation and realizing that although our physical body may have a beginning and an end, our soul doesn't. And that transformation will continue. That energy of unconditional love will continue. I reach a point in my life that I don't justify myself to anybody. I am Raul. I believe in angels. I've written books about angels. I'm not in the background anymore, in the foreground. And like me or lumpy. And it's that simple. I'm not asking for everybody to like me like I used to, because you're in that constant treadmill that, oh my God, if they find out who I really am, this is who I am now. This is who I am today. You know what? Yes, I believe in angels. Yes, I wrote books about angels. And if you don't resonate with me, that's totally fine, because you are in your own journey and I'm in mine. And my sense of self and self-worth today is much greater than what it was perhaps 20 years ago when I was traveling the world and I had all the luxury of life. Today, I live a simple life, and that simple life got me to a place that I'm really happy with Raul, but I'm also really happy with the journey that Raul has taken. I'm really happy with the journey that I took. I'm happy to have taken the time to realize that all of those little bits of information that sometimes were honest or dishonest brought me to this point of talking to you here today and saying, you know what, it's okay to be you, but also it's really okay to be me. And I'm really happy with that. And I will not change it for the world.
I'm 51 years old. I'm currently living in Newcastle in New South Wales, and I'm an early childhood teacher. I was married for 25 years and was lied to. Lived a very big lie to the point of I became an extension of that lie. And his words, I would often say his words were my Bible. What he said, I believed, and I think I believed it because it was easy, and there was no challenge, no confrontation. I just went along and I believed it, and I was lied to for that whole period of time. I couldn't see it at the time, but obviously I was just an extension of him, and I was living that dishonesty as well. And I got to a point where I thought, is this really who I am? And I felt that I was in a cloud of all of this dishonesty around me. And I knew that I couldn't be there any longer. So then when I then did step away from the relationship, the dishonesty served me as something to compare to. So that when I came out of the relationship and situations would happen, I would start to question, is this what I really think? Or is this how I really feel? Or is this how I really want to respond? Which was all the lies of the past. So it gave me this opportunity to go, what do I think? How do I feel? How do I want to respond? So that was the gift in it. When I was married, and yes, I used to like dabbling in my cards and my crystals and that sort of thing, it was always thrown back at me. It was all rubbish. How dare you believe in that? It can't possibly be real. So even then, when I came out of that relationship and started digging in my toolbox again, it was a little bit exciting for me. And now those tools are coming out and I feel like I'm polishing them up. And if anything, that little strength of Bridget that's inside there is just growing and growing and growing. And now I can step out and really be me. And I catch myself doing it. I love it. When I'm at work or I've been on holidays recently and I go to bed overnight and I think, wow, who was that girl? That must be that real Bridget, So, and I feel like that, if you want to, for want of a better word, that true, authentic Bridget has now the opportunity to just be pushing those clouds away, day by day, and really stepping out into me, which I'm absolutely loving.
I'm Jeremy Walker in Brisbane, 33 years old, and my work is in hypnotherapy and the DeMartini method. Whenever someone has wronged me or been dishonest to me in the past, it's always led to propelling me forward to like another friend or another relationship that's more suited to who I am. So I've kind of tracked this over time and saw, well, this friend was good for a period of time and I learned something and I learned things from this person. But then whenever they were dishonest, it was almost like they were pushing me on to something better. So I tend to look for the blessings in what's happened, just to look for how that has been benefit to me in some way. I think it's something like close to 100% of people tell between 5 to 20 lies a day. It seems to be a strategy to get love. And this is definitely something I noticed in myself. I'd say it was around 2008, 2009, I decided to not tell a lie for the entire year and to not even tell a slightly deceptive statement for the entire year. So it was really interesting, and over a 9-month period, I told 3 deceptive statements only in that whole period. And I noticed all of them were because a fear had come up. And I was in the transport industry at the time, and there was a guy, and I knew he'd have to wait 20 minutes because he didn't get the right information. He was going to end up running late to where he was going. So I told him, it'll only be about 5 or 10 minutes till the next bus. So I told the lie in order to avoid a type of pain that I thought I'd experience. When I delve into that inside myself a little bit further, I think, isn't dishonesty someone's strategy just to get love? They're either looking after themselves, like in my case, I just didn't want to be physically hurt. Like that's an act of love. And that's the approach I take with dishonesty and also with other human traits that some people would call unfavorable. You know, aren't we all just looking to get a certain feeling in life, or to get that feeling of love, which is, I think, is really the purpose behind dishonesty. Dishonesty still leads to the truth. If someone lies to me, all it means is I now know something more about this person that maybe I didn't know before. If someone told a big lie where I'd actually believed something that wasn't true about them for a really long time, all that means is now I don't have to, I guess, live in that fantasy world for much longer. So like if I was in a relationship and I believed that person had been faithful and they cheated on me, which has happened before, and then they admitted they had cheated, well, I'm like, cool, and now I actually know what's going on. So to see honesty when it comes up in those situations is something that's like, hey, now I know more about what's going on, even though there had been the deception there, that it actually ends up leading to the truth in the end. In 2007, and partly directed to dishonesty, but really just around serving love. So when I decided my life's mission was to serve love, whatever that might be, the will of God, just to have come from my heart space in all situations, kind of everything falls in as a part of that. And when someone's dishonest, I just keep giving them love. When they're honest, keep giving them love regardless. So I guess when someone's been dishonest, I still know what my approach is going to be, but I just use dishonesty as a way to get to know someone better. If I've detected that that's happened, or if there's been an admission of lying over time, I just use that to go, cool, now I know what's going on. So the biggest way that would have changed me would be to let go of anger. That's it. Just to let go of anger, keep the peace in my own heart, and yeah, whether someone's honest or dishonest, just to keep that perspective. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Lani Sharp and I am 41. I am from Melbourne and I'm an astrologer, author and crystal therapist. I was in my teens and I had a very, very important and close person in my life who, a very close friend who was dishonest. So what happened was actually as a result, I believe, of substance abuse. And this person betrayed me on a number of occasions. I forgave that person again and again because not only am I a very forgiving person, and I still am, I am also pretty philosophical. So I do believe that, and that comes down to my underlying beliefs about people on a collective and an individual level, that I think that most of us are trying our best most of the time with what we have. And so a few things happened, and probably the most severe act of dishonesty was around this person stole from me, actually robbed my house, and I knew it was that person as soon as I arrived home and saw that my electrical equipment had been taken. So that was quite a challenging situation, and I had to confront that person, and that wasn't an easy thing to do because I didn't want to expel them from my life, but I realised that I needed to banish them from my experience for a period of time so that they could understand the impact it had on me. The person was extremely upset, so it was a difficult situation to deal with because I knew that they were coming from a place of desperation rather than trying to hurt me, and I understood this on a deep level. So how it contributed to my enlightenment was pretty much that I have always had that understanding that people, it's never the person, it's a behaviour. So I never think that there's something wrong with the person. I think that what they do perhaps might be not great, But in that sense, I'm very forgiving, so I will always forgive the person, but I might not forgive or let that behaviour go. Many of us have heard of the concept of tough love. Now, it can be a little bit challenging as somebody who is so close to a person having issues. I think tough love implies that you have to completely shut that person out or somehow make great sacrifices around your relationship. I don't believe that you need to completely cut somebody out. You certainly need to teach them or tell them that their behaviour won't be tolerated. But there's a fine balance, and I think it can be done. You can still let that person know that you love them. You just don't love their behaviour. So you can still love a person and not love what they're doing, and that's perfectly reasonable and acceptable. And any person on the receiving end of that who won't accept that or who gets defensive obviously has issues of their own to work around, and it's never a personal thing. So I found that it brought that strength out of me, the courage to, it really was a courage thing, because it does take a lot of strength to do that and to actually enforce it, as in to put it into place, be firm with it. The thing that it helped me with was trust. I think many of us, when we experience such a challenge with somebody or dishonesty, is that we, in future situations, we apply that lesson to that situation and we might not trust again. And we can close our hearts, and that's very easy to do. But if you can summon the strength to keep your heart open, because not every situation is the same, even though you might treat it the same, and put your guard up. So I found that it helped me develop trust, and that's a really ongoing thing for me. And I trust everybody, and if I don't trust them, they're not in my life.
So what do you think? Is dishonesty really bad or something wrong that happens in our lives to us? Or is it really a gift, something we can grow from and allow to activate our own enlightenment? How long are we going to continue to be angry towards others for their dishonesty? How many more days and hours will we spend taking lies personally? How long will we continue to hide? Is it more empowering to step out of judgment and ask ourselves, what is this teaching me about myself? How can I be more honest? How can the power of honesty create a better world? If we know what we don't want, then maybe it's time to be spending more attention on what we do.